Hey guys and gals, welcome back to Gemini Scale Model Works. This is going to be part 2 of the Big Rig Group build. So what you're looking at right now is a mock-up. I do a lot of this mock-up stuff while I'm sitting down watching TV. And as you can see, I got the working end of the truck mocked up right now. The floor is not permanent. Cab and front nose part are together. I'm trying to sketch out something on the nose. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Maybe some kind of thing I might paint on there. I'm not sure yet. Anyhow, this is not what I wanted to show you. What I want to show you is actually underneath all of this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and peel off this stuff right here, and you'll see what I have accomplished while I was off of camera. So stay tuned, and here we go. Boom! Look at this. Isn't this pretty? Woo-wee! Look at that. I painted the springs in glossy black. I'll give you a detail on the paint colors I used here. Okay, for the main chassis rails, I used this Mr. Color number 61, and it is called Burnt Iron. For the springs, I used, let's see, where is it? Ta-da-ta-da! Model Color, glossy black, and I hand painted those. Now, for the airbags, I was going to use tire black, but I didn't like the way the tire black looked, so I went ahead, and I remember watching a video where someone used dark Panzer Gray by Vallejo. So I painted the airbags in that color. And let's see, what else? The differential, or the rear ends, I painted in another Vallejo product. It's called Black Metallic, and I think these look really cool. The color is really, really nice. So what we're going to do in this video is, number one, we are going to finish this. What I mean by finish this is we're going to mount all of this. Well, we're not going to mount it because I want to do the engine and transmission to make sure all of this is in the correct place. I'm sure it is, but I want to be sure about that. So what we'll do in the meanwhile is we'll go ahead and put the airbags in, which are right here. Now with this, I was trying to do, now this is, let me see, let me get my, where's my finger? I think this finger is a little bit too big. But anyhow, this piece right here with the spring is one piece. Then this right here is another piece. And the airbag attaches to this and then attaches to the frame. So I was trying to put the airbag and this onto here as one unit. It was not working out that way. So I decided to, first of all, make these fit on here, which they didn't fit very well. They were sitting like half on and half off, so I had to file down a lot of stuff to get it to work. Anyhow, the airbags are now ready to go in, and the front dropped axle, or whatever you want to call it, is also painted in that metallic black. So that's ready to go into the chassis also. So my objective today is to see if we can get this to stand up on its wheels and have an engine and transmission, so I can do another mock-up and see if everything works out. With all that being said, let's get ready for this, and we'll be right back. Okay guys, we are back. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put these airbags in, and let me show you about these airbags here for a second. Pull that in a little bit. And these airbags can only go on these arms in one way. You see those right there? Those are a D shape or a half moon shape that will correspond with what's on the bottom of the airbag. Now I know these got pretty scuffed up while I've been handling them, so we will fix that later. Now I'm going to use my Fowler glue and back this back out. because it's going to give me a little bit of working time to get these in there. I'm going to do the bottoms first, and then once the bottoms are secure, we'll go ahead and do the tops. So, with that being said, let's see how this is going to work. Hang on a minute. I like to get my glue going before I actually put it to the model. There we go. Alright, we'll do this first one on the camera, and then the other ones we'll do off camera. Alright. Now, this is where I get fumble fingers. I gotta do it from one side. Alright. And now, come on. Now, there might have been an easier way to do this, but this is what I found. Alright, come on. See, I gotta have to touch up these airbags. Come on. There we go. That's one. You see the angle that it's on? I have to kind of slide that back because there's a groove that it has to sit in. And that's what I was saying. These pieces here were just not going on right. I'll have to wait for that to dry before I can actually move it. But, okay. We're going to see if this first one works. Let me see if this second one will fit in there. And also, another thing on these airbags, I don't know if you guys are going to see that. Right on the top, there's a little locating pin. There's a groove in the chassis that has to go into. And I think this one is going to be right, and I think this one's going to be right. Let's see. Alright, we'll go ahead and put this one in. You notice I did not paint those areas, I did cover them up. Alright, and this one is going to go this way. There. See how much better that one is? Just falls right into place, goes right into the groove where the chassis is. So this arm right here is not correct. I might have to try and take that off and reposition it. Anyhow, I'll let those two dry up, and I'll put the other two in, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. Meanwhile, we're going to start building the engine. So stay tuned, let me get the parts for the engine, and we will be right back. Okay, boys and girls, I have this through with most of the engine parts on here. There's going to be a lot of painting going on in this also. Right now what I want to do is just get the engine block and the transmission together as one unit, so I could put it in the chassis and see if everything else lines up, because then I could put the axles in the chassis. So, that being said, go ahead and cut these parts off, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, we got all our parts cut off. Let's see how they look when we start putting them together. At least this has got some positive locking marks here. Some flash to be cleaned up, but we'll do that after we get this together. And we will be using, there's some more parts over here. This kit was open. I knew it was an open box when I bought it, and I think all the parts are here. I'm not 100% sure, and some of them are and the engine parts all came in a plastic bag. So, except what you just saw me cut off. So, all right, we got this here. The seam doesn't look too bad. Let's see. This back is not lining up very well. Got to do some sanding to make that fit. I don't know if you guys can see. the misalignment between this half and this half on the transmission bell housing. You can see that. So I'm gonna have to sand that down because everything else is in place. So, all right. Now I don't know. I'll have to do some research to see what engine is in this and paint it the appropriate color. Because I'm not familiar with these trucks, so I don't know. Is this the same as the conventional 359? Is it a 359? I don't know. All right. All right. Let that set up for a minute. And we'll put the transmission halves together. Boy, that doesn't line up either. Wow. A lot of seam cleaning I got to do on this. Alright. Alright, so those two pieces are together. So this there must be something. Let's see. It doesn't even fit in there. But anyhow, I think that's how it's got to go. So I got a lot of cleanup to do to join these two together. And before I put anything else on here, I'm going to go ahead and clean up these seams and stuff. So stay tuned and we'll be back shortly. Okay, boys and girls, as you can see, I got a bunch of the parts cut off of the sprue for this, and there is still some more to go on there, but I want to do just a few at a time. Just the main components to get this engine looking like an engine. Excuse me. I do not have the actual Cummins color, so I'm just going to paint it whatever yellow I have, and that will be suffice. So, this engine got a texture on it, just like a real cast iron block would. But anyhow, as you can see, I already joined the oil pan to the block, only because I'm going to make that the same color. All the rest of these are going to get various colors, depending on what their job is. So, anyhow, with all that being said, all of this has got to get primed first. Then I'll show you what's going on with the chassis, and we'll follow up from there. Be right back. Alright, boys and girls, we are back, and my rear suspension is all secured. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch up the airbags, I'm going to touch up the chassis color, and then we will continue on from there. So like I said earlier, I did use this dark Panzer Gray for the airbags, and that's what we'll use to touch them up. And there's not very many spots on there, just a couple that need to actually get touched up. Clean that off. Okay. And put just a little bit right there. That's all we need, I think. No, we might need a little bit more. It's almost black. It's almost gray. It's a perfect substitute for tire black. Paintbrush. No, not that one. I should have been prepared for this. There we go. Alright. So, all of these marks that are on here, we're going to take care of right now. Alright guys, we're going to do a little chassis touch up now. That's the bottle right there, and as you can see, it's pretty well gone. There's just a little bit down at the bottom there, which is just enough for me to do what I got to do. And actually, I'm just going to take it off the cap. I'm just going to touch up some of the places that got a little bit hurt during this operation. Now, I did do a little research because in actuality, when I was building the chassis, there's an air pump that needs to go back in this corner right here. So I gotta check that out. I gotta see how all these airlines are gonna run, because I just might do all of those airlines. And you know what? I forgot to touch up in here, so I'll just touch it up with this color, just so it doesn't blare out at you. There you go, all touched up. I'm waiting for the primer to dry up on the engine components. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to order another jar of this stuff. I like this paint. This is a nice color. I like it very much, very much. Okay, so now that the rear suspension is done, I think we should mosey on over to the front suspension. So I already did this. Now, there was a couple of not sprue, but I don't know what you guys call it. I'm not familiar with all the plastic terminology. But there was a piece sticking up inside that little dealie right there. It's actually better for me to take the camera down to you. Right in there, there was a huge bump. And there's another one on that side. And there's alignment pins on this side, but they don't line up with this exactly in the middle of the vehicle. And I want it to be in the middle of the vehicle. So, I'm going to modify this to my liking. And then we're going to go ahead and install this. Now, I didn't tell you guys that I redoing the wheels. I didn't dechrome them. I just primed them, and I'm going to rechrome them with my paint rather than from the factory. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to scrape some of that off of there. I thought I already had it covered, and I think I do have it covered. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and scrape that off, and then we'll put that on there, and we'll see how that looks. Be right back. Alright guys, I'm happy the way this is going to fit in here now. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on there and just make sure it's centered when I put it on it, because I'm going to use some of that Loctite super glue. But I think that's going to be good. It looks like it's pretty centered, and I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and get this. And I'm using this Loctite. This is great stuff. I like this stuff. And I'm going to put a little bit of that in the center right there. And get a toothpick applicator. And we will apply. And I had totally forgot that I had put some of that liquid masking on here, so it just came right off. We're gonna need more than that. Yeah, there you go. All right, let's get this guy in place. I'll hold it there for a second. I did clean off both sides, so I'm plastic to plastic. Is the way I like it. And I don't know if you guys can see this. See if I can point it out to you. But if you can see right here in the middle, and right here in the middle, looks like there's might be two bolts that hold the axle to the springs. So it's lined up perfectly in the middle of the springs. So I am happy with that. So we're going to let that cure up a little bit before we can go any further. Stay tuned and we will be right back. Okay, boys and girls, we are back. Now, a lot of you guys in the comments told me that this kit would have some issues. And mounting the rear suspension was one issue. And I have, I guess, found another mistake of mine. I don't know if it's mine or if it's the plastic. But as you can see, this thing is going to rock and roll back and forth. And I can see that this airbag back here looks like it might be the one that it's resting on right now. I don't know how to fix that because this is as far down as it can go. And if I look at from the top of the spring to the top of this arm right here, there's 2 leaves. The same thing with this one. There's 2 leaves. On this side is 2 leaves. There's two. So I don't understand. Anyhow, that was the first issue. I don't know if I'm going to try and fix that or if I'm going to leave it alone. So, right now I have the engine and transmission, very, very basic mock-up. I got a rubber band holding it in place, and the only place that the engine is located is up here in the front, where there's 2 pins underneath that yellow piece that line up with a couple of holes that are on the cross member. Anyhow, the issue, when all of these drive shafts are in place, or when all the components are in place, and I should put this one in just so you can see. I gotta lift this. Let's see, lift that out. Come on. All right. And we are in it. Okay, so from here, from the front of the engine to the back of the transmission to this, they call it a center support, drive shaft support, is good. Now, I have to build it that way. So the next piece I would put in would be this drive shaft. So this drive shaft would go in here, and then the differential would go in, and it's too short. The differential is as far forward that way as I can get it, but the drive shaft is too short. It keeps falling out. So, how am I going to fix that? I have a pretty good selection of tubes and rods and all kinds of stuff. So I found this piece of tubing that I'm going to actually put into the differential like that, and then cut off just a really small piece, just enough so the drive shaft can fit in. Now the drive shaft, part of the drive shaft here will fit inside of this tube, so it'll just be an extension, like an extension to the nose piece on the differential. So I already got the hole big enough with this guy go in. Now I could actually make that a drive shaft, you know, cut the ends off of that, put it on this one, and boom, got a new drive shaft. So, but, and it's not even long enough. But I do, if I wanted to do that, I can do it because I have plenty of this tubing. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and let's see if I can get stuff to line up a little bit better, and hopefully maybe even put the wheels on. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, guys, I would like to say that I might have made a mistake. I don't know. But instead of putting that extension in there, what I did was I actually just took the drive shaft and turned it around. It seems that the constant velocity joint has to go towards the rear end, not what the instruction said. The instruction said to put this piece up here. So, as you can see, my engine is in place, transmission's in place, first drive shaft's in place, second drive shaft's in place. This is temporarily glued down with this follow glue. Now this follow glue takes a long time to actually cure, so it gives me time, so if I want to take this apart, I can. Now, third problem is this differential. I'm going to show you this here in a second. Let me get it, if I can get it in the hole. Excuse my arm for a minute. Now let's see. There you go. This differential right now, the final differential, this one, is almost in place. If I push this forward right here, you can see that it goes in place. But look at how much of the drive shaft is not going in to this guy. And I can't go any more forward than that because these trailing arms support the front of the differential. I guess maybe when it's all glued in it'll stay there, but man, I tell you what, that drive shaft needs to be like a 1/16 of an inch, maybe a 1/32 of an inch longer. Anyhow, I'm going to see if I can do something with that so it doesn't fall out after the kit is built. With all that being said, I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video, and as always, your questions, comments, inputs, subs, shares, and likes are always welcome. For now, that's all, folks. Gemini Scale Model Works out for now. Bye.